Welcome to Thinking Deeper by 6-7. You know, we all think we know the story of the forbidden fruit. But the real drama, the part that actually reveals everything about who we are, it doesn't start with the bite. It starts right after. It's a story about hiding, being found, and 4 simple questions from God that are, believe it or not, just as relevant today as they were in the Garden of Eden.
This ancient text from Isaiah, it just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the core idea we're digging into today, the crisis of choice. It really all boils down to one fundamental question, for them and for us. Are we going to live life God's way, or are we going to insist on doing it our own way?
All right, so let's set the scene. Picture the Garden of Eden. It's a place where every need is provided for. And right in the middle of this paradise, you've got 2 very important trees. There's the tree of life, which is all about God's way, His word, and then there's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which, well, that represents our desire to be our own gods, to define good and evil for ourselves.
Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating. The big mistake here wasn't just, eating a piece of fruit. It was a complete and total reordering of priorities. See, God's intended order was vision first, what's beautiful and true, then sustenance, all leading to life. But the choice made in the garden flipped the script entirely. It put physical needs first, vision second, and chased knowledge over life, which, as the story goes, leads to death.
And this verse just drives the whole point home. Look, true life, a really abundant life, doesn't just come from satisfying our immediate cravings. The source material is arguing that it comes from aligning our will, our vision, with God's revelation. It's about choosing guidance over just gratification. It's about choosing life.
So after the choice is made, God doesn't show up with lightning bolts and fury. Not at all. Instead, He comes looking for them. He starts a conversation, almost like an investigation, and it all kicks off with this first absolutely critical question.
Now, let's be real. This isn't a question about physical coordinates. God isn't playing hide and seek. He knows exactly which bush they're behind. He's asking something much, much deeper. He's trying to get Adam to see his new spiritual address, his new state of being.
And that's it, right there. That's the beginning of the identity crisis. That question, where are you, is God's way of triggering that sinking feeling, that dawning realization of, oh no, I am lost. And realizing you're lost is always the first step to being found.
Adam and Eve hid among the trees, and we might think that's a bit primitive, but are we really any different? We have our own modern groves to hide in, don't we? Our hiding places just look like promotions at work, the next Netflix binge, our obsessions, or just endless entertainment. Anything to quiet that little voice that keeps asking if we're truly where we're meant to be. By the way, if you're enjoying this deep dive, please take a second to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps.
So Adam eventually answers. He admits he's hiding because he feels naked. And God's follow-up is a second, incredibly sharp question that cuts even deeper.
Just think about that for a second. This question goes right to the heart of how we see ourselves. It's challenging the very source of our truth. Are you defining yourself based on what God says is true? Or are you listening to that new internal narrator, the one that speaks with shame and fear and insecurity?
This whole thing is really a problem of direction. It's like you're hiking and you decide to just throw your compass away because you think you know better. The moment you reject that divine true north, you become totally disoriented. You don't know where you came from, you don't know where you are, and you certainly have no idea where you're going. This question is a systems check. Who or what has become your God?
So from the feeling of shame, God then pivots. He moves the conversation to the specific action that caused it. He's about to make what was implicit very explicit.
This is the let's get specific question. It's a direct call to connect the dots between the consequence, that feeling of being lost and afraid, and the cause, the direct act of disobedience. It's really about taking ownership of the choice that was made.
And then, for the final question, God turns to Eve. And what He asks isn't just about getting the facts on the table. No, it's an invitation to go much, much deeper.
Once again, He already knows the answer. This question is 100% for her benefit. It's an opportunity for her to actually see the action for what it was, to feel the weight of it, and to agree with Him about its true nature.
And this brings us to the real meaning of confession, which is probably not what most of us think. It isn't just saying, okay, fine, you caught me, I did it.
The word itself actually comes from Greek roots that literally mean to say the same thing. So confession is about seeing your actions from God's perspective and finally saying, you are right about what this was. It's aligning your judgment with His.
So let's pull all of this together. Let's step back and look at what this whole conversation really reveals. These 4 questions, they paint a pretty remarkable picture of the character of God in this whole story.
This lays it all out, doesn't it? Instead of just abandoning humanity, God lovingly pursues it. He uses these questions not as a prosecuting attorney would, but as a guide leading them out of hiding and back towards restoration. This isn't an interrogation. It's a rescue mission designed to heal, not to condemn.
So ultimately, the point of this whole divine dialogue is redemption. It's about a loving God trying to move you from where you are, maybe lost, maybe hiding, back to the very center of His will, back to where you are truly supposed to be.
So you see, this ancient story, it's not just a story. It's a timeless framework for looking at our own lives. It's a set of questions that are just as powerful and penetrating today as they were at the very beginning, and they leave every single one of us to consider our own answers.